Hey everybody, it's Steve again. Still working it out. Life on the road. Um, so today's the early March, 2026. So I went to school today. I'm at a community college in Baton Rouge, and they're really really cool. The guy that runs the program is an outstanding human being, and the guys that are teaching it are great professionals. Um, they're kind of disorganized in the whole teaching aspect of it and stuff, but that's not abnormal for a community college trucking program. I went through a community college trucking program in another state in 2010 and got my Class A at that time, and I will still never forget that instructor. He was like John Wayne in a truck. And I still hear in the back of my head, watch your tandems, watch your tandems, watch your tandems, which anybody that's ever been in a class with him, they'll instantly know who I'm talking about. That guy was amazing. He had some stories. But I brilliantly gave up my CDL 5 years later when I went to another state because I thought I would never need it again. And look, here I am needing it again. So I talked about a couple of things, and I'm going to talk a little about my current truck driving experience. I'm going through, like I said, a community college, and they're pretty disorganized in the trucking thing. I think the two instructors that I have now were longtime truckers. Neither one of them have ever been teachers. They're not highly educated or anything like that. I think that the guy that used to run the program, which meant he did the instruction and stuff like that, I think he has more education and stuff. And he's now an administrator. And they're turning out students. I think that they've said they've put out 35 students since they started. These guys that are currently teaching and stuff. So that's not nothing. That's steady progress. So, and I'm doing fine. I show up in the morning. To give you an idea, I'm technically not supposed to be there in the morning because there's currently 6 people. We started out with about a dozen people in our class, and there's currently 6 people in our class. There's a lot of people that aren't very serious about stuff, and so they didn't continue with it. But there's currently about 6 people in our class. And so when there's an instructor in the truck, there's room enough for about 5 people total in the truck. Something like that. 3 people in the back, 1 in the passenger, 1 in the... Oh yeah, so it's 6 people plus the instructor. So yeah, I'm supposedly randomly got chosen to ride on the second shift. So that starts at supposedly at 1 o'clock, except that sometimes they just don't show back up. That had to be had to be early, a couple days ago, where that I went to work. I went to the school. I always show up really early so I can practice things before anybody else gets there. A lot of the guys aren't really motivated to get there early. And so I get there before the instructor. When the instructor gets there, I can tell him I've already done all of his work for him, which is check the oil and stuff like that, and make sure that the vehicle's in good condition. He just gives me the keys, I can start it up, and I can start practicing backing and stuff like that in my backing maneuvers. There's 3 maneuvers that they're having us learn, which is typical. The straight line back, so like if you're backing up to a dock or something like that, and there's trailers on either side of you just got to back up straight. So anybody can do that. Anybody can do that pretty much asleep. Then there's the 90-degree back, which is not as easy. You have that same area of cones where that you're basically faced 90 degrees away from it. So you imagine you pull into a distribution center, and there's 1 space available. We can only use 1 space, but there's 1 space available, and there's trucks, there's trailers everywhere else. And so you have to fit it, you have to back it, turn the trailer, and back it successfully into that spot without touching, because vehicles are not allowed to touch each other in general, and but without touching the other two. And it is easier said than done. This is the most difficult backing maneuver that we typically do, and it's the most difficult backing maneuver that happens in the DOT test. So And then there's another one called the offset test, and that's actually pretty easy too. One of the reasons I said that the school's a little disorganized is they're not teaching it correctly. I've been asking for days now for the instructor to show me how he wants me to do it. So I need him to show me, because the way he's teaching it, I've never ever seen it that way. It's not how I learned it in the first school. If you're confused, anybody can go to YouTube these days and look something up, except all of theirs that is this exact same move is the exact way I was trained. And then when I tried to help, I'm not trying to be a dick about it. So I was trying to show him, hey, when you're doing what you're doing, how come you don't do it this way? And then he claimed that what the video that I was showing him to basically illustrate to him what an actual offset backing maneuver was, he tried to say it was something else. So I don't know what's going on. And then another student that has been through 2 testing phases and failed both times, apparently, said that they don't even, at the DOT, they don't even test you for that, which is really hilarious. But anyway, and that's fine. The good news is I've been asking the instructor to show me what he wants, how he wants us to do it. He wants us to do this thing without any instruction of how to do it. And I just have not wrapped my brain around what they want exactly, because it's not the maneuver they're trying to teach. So I'm confused about that. I've got a leg up on most of the students in the class. There is another student that has not shown up much because I think he thinks he's pretty good at it, and or maybe he's even decided he doesn't interested in getting his Class A, but he already has a Class B also. I have been driving a bus for the last 4 years or whatever, and so I have a Class B driver's license, which means that I can operate it's called a fixed vehicle, a vehicle that does not articulate. So a tractor trailer articulates in the middle, right? And a fixed vehicle like a bus, there's no trailer, unless you've seen some really cool new buses, which they do articulate, but you still don't need the same. I don't think you have to have a Class A for that. Anyway, so I have a leg up on everybody because I am already familiar with a lot of stuff like the inspection and a whole bunch of things like that. So you get tested on the pre-trip inspection, which it's funny because they get into some real minutia, but it's not just here, that's everywhere. When they're testing for the pre-trip inspection of the vehicle. And some of it's really, really important, the minutia issue, and it's safety stuff, which I totally get. And some of it's, I can't believe, the instructors that I have now, which is another hilarious thing. They'll come right out and tell you, oh, you'll never do this again as soon as you get a job. And I'm like, hey, yeah, I had a job, and I did pre-trip stuff, because we had a sheet we had to fill out, and we had lots of details of things we were checking. And so apparently not everybody experiences the same level of detail in their work as I have in the past. But I worked for a city driving a bus, and so they had pretty strict, rules on safety stuff, for good reason. We had people in our vehicles, I guess. But anyway, I do know that vehicles aren't supposed to touch, so the safety stuff is really a big deal. And air brake systems are way different than a car, and if there were ever a leak or something anywhere in this huge machine in the air brakes, there's no way you'd know it until certain things happen, unless you're checking for things. So one of the first things you do is you inspect the vehicle before you get up in it and drive, and check for those things, those kinds of things. So yeah, that's what I'm doing in the school. So as soon as I graduate this, I think it's going to be a couple months from now, then I'll start driving for Prime, and stacking up that money. It's going to be a real. I've had jobs before, like construction jobs and things, where you're gone all the time. You live in an RV, and you're gone all the time. And with construction jobs, they're pretty seasonal. Like some places, they don't operate in the wintertime at all, because it's just about impossible. And in that particular line of work, you have to have a backup account, what we used to call an oh shit account, save money for the times you're off. In trucking, you have a backup account for all the things you might need if the truck were to break down. Because, like I say, the truck payments continue to be needed on a timely basis, and so you have to have $15,000 or $20,000 saved up just in case the truck breaks down. And I've heard of one recent person that I'm following on YouTube had a $45,000 bill on a particular truck that they call their junker, which they finally got rid of. But $45,000 or no money to be made. Luckily, it's paid for. So yeah, that's when you need a backup account. That's heavily funded. And so me personally, if I end up doing the lease op, which means I'm responsible for paying my own taxes, my own medical insurance, my vehicle insurance, the vehicle payment, which is $1,400 a week, tires, fuel. Fuel is really expensive, and it's getting worse in California right now. It's $8 a gallon, maybe $9 a gallon. Somebody just sent me a thing saying it was $8.99 or something like that in LA. So I mean, it's no joke. So that eats, the more you run, the more you make for freight and stuff usually, and but you pay the appropriate amount in fuel. Depending on where you're going, you make less money too. So I prefer to operate in the western states, but in the western states, generally you make less money because there's a lot more miles between pickup and drop off, and fuel is more expensive on the West Coast for whatever reason. California is famous for that. So I've had to. I just fill out a description of what this was, and so to give people a very quick run here, when I was 50, and this is 7 years ago now, something like that. Yeah, 7 years ago. I was diagnosed with MS, and so I could no longer do what I've always done, which is very physical work. I had several different things that I could fall back onto. I had the skills for and things like that. But they were very physical jobs, and I've always been a very physically capable person, so that was never a problem. I never really thought about, and I was offered many times to try to develop what they called office skills and be more of a management person, but my little pea brain decided that having those kinds of jobs would take me out of the field too much, and then I wouldn't enjoy my life anymore. Well, then suddenly I got MS. And I don't know if you know about MS, but MS messes your physical stuff up pretty badly, and by destroying some place in your brain. And so I had to abruptly stop what I've done my entire life and quickly go into business. Now, I'd been into business a couple times already, so I changed what I was doing. I went into business without an education for it and stuff, other than just the tech as a technician, with a lot of skills that I could train other people in. But I was doing okay, but I was realizing very quickly that even that was too much for my new body situation. And so right around that, it was just by pure luck, right around that time, we had left Iowa. My wife's from Iowa. We had left Iowa 5 years before that. And I had promised her at that time that, hey, listen, we'll just do it for 5 years. Her family's all there. Nobody ever moves away ever, apparently. And very big family. And so it was a big deal for her to move away. And we moved thousands of miles away. And and it just happened to be the right time. So, all right, fine. We need to change location, and I'll restart my stuff with a new medical hospital to get my MS stuff dealt with. And we moved out, got all that stuff going, and then COVID hit. And I had to stop working at what I was, little bits I was trying, because I was really trying to force the issue. I was trying to somehow will myself not to have MS, or make it not work, because I didn't know anything else. I really didn't know anything else to do. And so COVID hit, and then I realized I wasn't going to go out working for anybody at the moment, no matter what I wanted to do. And then I thought, decided, online college, so a way not to waste my time. And so I began an MBA program through University of Arkansas Grantham. And while I was doing that, eventually COVID came and went, and the bus systems were hiring. And so I decided I'd start working part-time for a municipal bus service. And so I started work for them, and then 6 years later, so I did a couple of different things that way. But anyways, always driving. 6 years later, I graduated from college. That was this last year. That was 2025 in June, and with a master's in business administration. My bachelor's was in marketing and business administration, and my master's was in project management in business administration. And the whole time, all that for me was to be able to open my own business and run it properly, and use new skills, to work the business rather than the old skills that I had used before. To take that, I got forced basically by life to take that next step into the area of business. So I started a business. I really did. I made huge changes, put in a lot of work to start a new business. Got it. I located to the West Coast where I was going to start it because I understood the market, and found out that no matter what I did, there was this one stumbling block. It's digital marketing. Had to happen. I had to get this company that would do digital marketing for me. And they also happen to do, their software also covers scheduling. So the company I've started is called Sunshine Home Cleaners, and I did that on purpose. It's a very inexpensive type of business to invest in. It's a business that I know nothing about as far as the skill of it and stuff like that, because I have to force myself to not have a business where that I can do the work, the physical work on the ground, because I'm a lifelong technician. And lifelong technicians have a tendency to say, "Oh, move over, let me do that," kind of like IT guys or something. And my new skill has to be in management, the books, and employee relations, and training people, and basically stacking up the layers of business that take care of the business. There's lots of moving parts to something like this when you do it properly. And that was my new skill. My master's degree was in learning processes and how to manage a project, basically, and marketing too. There's a lot of marketing involved in this. The digital marketing I have to hire out is one part of the marketing. But the directions the marketing takes, the depth the marketing gets into, and things like that, that's all me. And the business that I've designed is designed to explode, not in a bad way, but in a good way. So, but I have to have that company that I found a company that does it. I found a company that does it well, and they cost $800 to start a month, which is actually not that much. But when you think about the rest of the living expenses, people earn an extra $800 a month on top of everything else. That's a chunk of change. So, having a car payment, all those kinds of things at the same time, and rent and everything else. So the funding that I need is going to be generated during that 5 years that I'm working for Prime, where that I'm going to be investing with Fidelity. It'll be just direct deposit checks on it. We can see the money. I'll keep about 35% for us. Karen will get a portion. I'll get a portion. And our normal bills and stuff like that to be able to keep us functioning. Karen has her own thing going on. Every 6 months she moves for her work, and they put her in. It's a big company that she works for, and they put her and two other people that work for the company in these situations to basically rescue underperforming properties. So, it's a rental property. So it's like a big part, 250 person or apartment complexes. And when a local area can't seem to get their shit together and earn the money that they're supposed to earn, their occupancy is chronically down, that kind of stuff. In Baton Rouge, we're at one of those now. And our time will be coming up to an end in about 2 months here, and we'll be, the next thing is to move to like Minnesota or whoever. So there's no way that I could have ever had a local job, a 9 to 5er with something like that, because every 6 months we move. And even if I stayed in Iowa, I'd never see her again because that's her job, So I needed something that, is, I can do anything for a certain amount of time. It's like you see at the light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's not a train, it's the actual end of the tunnel. I can do that, I can stand on my head for a while. So 5 years, the projected amount of money is $260,000 that should be earned in that period of time. And that's what I need to launch the business properly. And then once that happens, it'll become a thing that she can transition within a couple of years after that. It'll be a thing where she can transition out of her job that she currently has into something of an upper management person. The company will be managed by somebody else. It'll be run by other people, but they will listen to her. She's an excellent business person. And she's going to live longer. I mean, that's just how that is. But she needs passive income for the rest of her life, because we didn't plan a retirement, and there won't be any Social Security in a few years. Republicans have made sure of that. And so you gotta be smart and plan out your retirement, or you won't be having a good time in a few years here. It's going to get rough for people for a while. And AI is going to make some changes to that too. So the normal trajectory that we're looking at right now, which does not look good, will be drastically changed in the next 5 years through AI. And I'm also only doing the trucking for 5 years because everything that I've looked at with AI and other research projects that in 7 to 12 years, there will be not one single, any type of driving job available to human beings. So it'll be good to be out of the trucking industry by that time, and not really, owning a truck or anything that I have to try to figure out how to sell when nobody can really do anything with it. So anyway, that was my thing for the day. Please hit the bell and subscribe. Don't pay any money, but subscribe to it. That way you always see my stuff when it comes up or whatever. And if you wouldn't mind hitting a like, because apparently YouTube really thinks it's cool if people do the thumbs up to it. So if you would do those things, I sure would appreciate it. It really does help. All right. Have a great day. I love you guys.